What's going on, chads? So yesterday was a very dark day in the world of DeFi and passive income projects as we saw the contract balance of Wealth Mountain get drained to zero, as well as Stablefund pausing all their contracts and deciding to put to an end their staking platform. So I'm going to be explaining exactly what happened with both of these protocols, so make sure to stay tuned to the rest of the video to find out more. So we're going to start off today by explaining what happened yesterday over at Wealth Mountain. As you can see, they made some updates to the website, so now you can't actually see the contract balance because it is currently at zero. And we go over to the decentralized app. We can see now the dashboard's changed as well. We can't see the contract balance anymore. You can see here, and if you go on to BSC scan and put in the portfolio address, you can still see they do have all these portfolio funds here. So this 658,000 is there. Some of it is currently staked in certain protocols, but the 650,000 is still where it should be. It is just the contract balance, basically everybody else's money that has been drained to zero. So what happened? Well, it was kind of a similar story to what had happened back here, where there was a big whale that had sold their amount. So it turns out that there was a guy that got in early with 150k. I'm not sure where he got in on this little graph, but considering he got in with 150k, I'm sure he must have come around about this area here. And then he managed to sell that 150k yesterday for 500,000. So this 500k sell here caused the contract balance to drop by a huge amount, and then which triggered another huge whale to sell his full bag, dropping the TVL even further closer to zero. Obviously this caused a massive panic in the community, and everybody who was there and aware at the time, they started selling their bags up until there was absolutely no funds left and the contract balance was drained to zero. Now unfortunately the contract balance was drained to zero before the majority of people were able to get any funds out. So that means that the people that didn't withdraw their funds before the contract balance went to zero now have no way of getting the money back, which actually turned out to be the majority of holders, unfortunately. But this just exposes the harsh reality and the Ponzi side of these protocols, and that they do constantly rely on new investors coming into the protocol and also old investors holding the positions. Otherwise, they will collapse, just like we're seeing with Wealth Mountain. Now, even before this happened yesterday, Wealth Mountain have been migrating over to a version 2, and the version 2 will be working differently to how version 1 worked. So these guys are going to try and fix the Ponzi aspect of the protocol, and instead of promising to pay out up to 5% per day to all its holders, these guys are just going to pay out relative to how much yield they earn through the protocols that they're invested in. So going back to the portfolio value here, we can see they have a portfolio value, and we can see here where it's distributed across a bunch of different protocols. Now in version 2, holders will only be paid out depending on how much these protocols are bringing in revenue, which obviously means they're going to be paying out much less than 5% per day, which is what they were paying out before, but it'll be something that will be more sustainable over a long run. So yeah, this is something really devastating to see because, you know, for those of people that might have been working at the time, might not have been able to be active. Obviously, when they've gone and checked up on the project, they've seen that their investment, some people probably invested tens of thousands of dollars, and they've seen that they've got absolutely nothing now, and there's nothing that the team can do in order to get those funds back. I mean, I guess really one thing they could do is they could end up using this portfolio value to then recompensate people. But if they do this, then they obviously won't be able to migrate to this version 2 like they have planned on doing. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the best idea would be to do, whether it would be to compensate the people who have lost money with the rest of the portfolio, or whether it would be best just to migrate to version 2 and start from scratch. Obviously, after what's just happened, there's going to be really big trust issues with people that lost money there, which is understandable. But yeah, what do you guys think of the situation? Please drop a comment on the video. Let me know. Maybe you're invested in Wealth Mountain. What's your opinions on the migration of to version 2 and the decisions what the team has made after what happened yesterday? And now we're moving on to disaster number 2 of the day, which was Stablefund. Now these guys ended up pausing all 3 smart contracts, so people can't deposit or withdraw anymore from the staking platform. That's the BNB contract, the BUSD, and the Matic one. So any of you guys that have been in Stablefund know that it can be pretty hectic on a regular basis within the communities, on the Telegram and the Discord, of a bunch of investors, or some people that aren't even investors, creating a bunch of panic and a bunch of fear within the community because they have doubts with what Stablefund are doing behind closed doors with investing and whether it's sustainable over a long period of time or not. This panic and fear, which is created through the Telegram and Discord communities, then usually causes like big sell-offs for people to withdraw big amounts of money at one time. And it's exactly what was happening yesterday. And apparently, for the first ever time since Stablefund have turned their project public, the trading bots actually made a loss and couldn't keep up with the amount of money that was being withdrawn from the protocol. So at this point, they decided to pause all the contracts so that nobody could deposit or withdraw into the staking protocol anymore, and have decided that they are going to stop the staking platform for the public. So I guess the reason is Stablefund has become too big, too difficult, and too complicated to manage now, especially with all the panic and fear that's created by a certain percentage of the investors on a regular basis. And they've decided that they can't handle it anymore. So they actually will be continuing the staking, but just for a small private group of investors. And all the other utilities in the Stablefund protocol will continue. For example, people will be able to continue using their decentralized wallet and application just like before, and they will be able to trade cryptocurrencies on there. It's just that the staking platform will now only be available for a small private group of investors. Now, this is where I'm really interested to see what happens and how small this private group of investors will be, because after listening to the AMA yesterday, where they explained the situation, all I saw was pretty much every single investor there hassling the team, saying that they wanted to be part of version 2. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people actually let in version 2, whether they keep it very private like they're going to say and just let certain investors, maybe people that have been helping create content for the project, or people that have know Michaels from the team on a personal level, or whether they will just let anybody who asks back into the private staking platform, which in my opinion wouldn't be a good idea, because then if you let everybody back in, it's going to be pretty much the same as before with the same problems. So also I just wanted to touch over on what's going to happen with people's funds. So the guys at Stablecoin managed to pause the smart contracts on the BNB, the BUSD and the Matic blockchains before too many funds had been taken out. So there isn't the same problem as what happened with Wealth Mountain, fortunately. And the guys at Stablefund do say that there is enough funds to compensate everybody's initial investments. So what do I mean by initial investments? Well, say when you first joined up to Stablefund, you put $1,000 in and you had never taken any funds out of the protocol. So obviously you've been compounding every single day, but your initial investment, the amount of money that you'd put in there was $1,000, so you would be entitled to $1,000 back. However, if you put in $1,000, but then over the space of a few months, you had been compounding away, and at some point over those few months, you had withdrawn $1,000 or more than $1,000, so more than your initial investment, then you won't be owed any money from Stablefund. And the other example is people who have maybe made several deposits over a period of time. So maybe you started off with initially $1,000 in there and you were compounding, but after a couple of months, maybe you deposited another $1,000 in there, but you hadn't withdrawn any money. So therefore, overall, you had deposited $1,000 and an extra $1,000, but never withdrawn any. So you would be owed $2,000 from Stablefund. So this decision that these guys have made must be really frustrating for those guys who got into Stablefund maybe 3 or 4 months ago, who have only been compounding because they really believed in the project. They managed to maybe in those 3 or 4 months, at least 4x their initial investment, but they never took any money out. Now it's going to be frustrating for those guys who will only be able to get out that initial investment that they put in a few months back. But at the same time, this is kind of the fairest way to make sure everybody at least gets their initials out of the protocol and nobody is out of pocket. Now, in terms of when this is going to happen, Michael gave a rough estimate because they've got to run through all the transactions that have happened and find out exactly how many deposits people have made, what was compounded and what was deposits and stuff like that. And the scripts are going to take a while to run, but apparently they're going to be able to know exactly how much people are owed by the 31st of October, so that's in 6 days' time. And then they will start to make the refunds, which will take a couple of weeks. So on a timescale, we're looking at maybe close to a month before all the refunds are made. So this is a really crucial time for Stablefund now to see if they do go through what's promised. This is where we're really going to find out if Stablefund are a legit project or not, and whether people are then going to trust them for those select few investors who are invited to the private staking platform. Obviously, I know a bunch of you guys are invested in Stablefund to watch these videos, so I really do hope that everybody manages to get the refund. And fingers crossed over the next few weeks, everything runs smoothly. So again, what do you guys think about what's happening with Stablefund? Please drop a comment in the video, let me know what you think. I do enjoy listening to other people's opinions. And I think yesterday is just a big lesson to all of us that your money isn't safe in DeFi, so remember to only be investing money that you can afford to lose. And if something sounds too good to be true, normally it always is. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. So thanks for listening as always, and until next time. Bye.